Come on and shine, shine, shine. Las Vegas, shine your light on me.
Welcome to Las Vegas Tonight. Join award-winning host Dale Davidson as he interviews the most remarkable people you'll find in the entertainment capital of the world. You'll meet entertainers, sports figures, newsmakers, community and business leaders, and people just like you with stories that'll touch your heart. Now, here's Dale Davidson.
Welcome to Las Vegas Tonight. I'm your host, Dale Davidson. Each and every episode, we do our best to bring you fascinating guests. They might be from Las Vegas, they might be from out of town, like our current guest, but they're always interesting folks, usually Christians. And in this case, we have both. He's interesting and a Christian, David Marmon. Thanks for coming on, David.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah,
Dale.
David is the president and owner, chief honcho of 501c3 Go. He prepares nonprofit legal status for ministries and other businesses, I guess, as well. And he has done mine and did a great job. And he's in town. It happens to be New Year's Eve, and he's going to brave the Strip, I think. Just him and his wife and 300,000 other people.
Yes, exactly.
Excuse me. I love your outfit. Love the hat. You're a cowboy kind of guy. Tell us a little bit about where you grew up and your life. I'd be interested in hearing some of that.
Yes, Dale. Well, I grew up in a Christian home in Kansas, northeast Kansas. Was really blessed to have a really good education, the best high school in Kansas. And my mother taught Sunday school. My dad was on the board.
Wow.
My grandfather was a minister in the Disciples of Christ denomination.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
our lineage goes back to the Huguenots.
Wow.
Were chased out of France, chased to The Hague in Holland, and then went to the New World. And
all over religion, too. It was.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, the St. Bartholomew days, well, anyway. Anyway, we won't go into that.
Yeah, we won't go into history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I grew up in a very strong Christian home.
That's great.
And preached my first sermon when I was 11.
Wow.
But I've also been a seeker.
Oh, that's interesting.
I don't want to take something just because somebody says it.
Yes, I understand.
And I had discussions with my parents and saying, does this make sense?
Yeah.
And
you started a question when you were a teenager. Or
yeah. I mean,
that's often the case.
I'm just not one to just take it because somebody says it. I want to know.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then my home life, it was kind of boring in a way, and I was glad to get away. And I went away, and my first year of college was at a Disciples of Christ school in Enid, Oklahoma.
Oh, all right.
And then I went to Berkeley.
Oh, okay.
That's where I got my undergraduate.
Wow.
So that was quite a change.
Yeah.
But I was also, looking and seeing, why do people believe what they believe?
Yeah.
If you were born in Vietnam, you'd be a Buddhist.
Right.
Well, so it seemed like partially religion was where you grew up.
Yeah.
And so I was just always seeking. And so then I began doing some, jumping ahead, some missionary work in various parts of the world. I've traveled in 56 countries.
Wow.
And, I love foreign travel. And again, it's a very learning. And so my wife and I, we went to Calcutta, India for 6 months.
Wow.
To set up a health ministry for the people that live on the streets.
Oh.
And there are like 250,000 people that do everything on the street, have their babies on the street, everything on the street.
Lord.
And that was, I worked with Mother Teresa.
You did?
Some of the.
What was that like? What was she like?
Oh, she is.
Little Sisters of the Poor is the name of her
well,
ministry.
the Missionaries of Charity.
Oh, is that what it is?
Right.
Okay.
She is, the sparkle in her eyes, Dale, would make anybody feel like she's on the right track.
Yeah.
And I worshipped with her many times, and they asked me to read the Bible to her.
Oh, that's great.
For a Maundy Thursday service. And I worked with, they help the poor.
Oh, yeah.
And they may have tuberculosis, cholera, whatever.
They bring them in when they're sick and dying often, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And they finally told me I couldn't work there anymore because we have a 4-month-old baby.
Oh.
They say, you're going to take something back, and we can't have you work here anymore.
Yeah.
It's finished.
Yeah, I understand.
So I've had a very varied mission experience on the Mosquito Coast of Honduras doing medical clinics with Christian Emergency Relief Team.
Wow.
We went to South Africa and ministered to the refugees coming out of Mozambique. Smuggled Bibles into Russia with Brother Andrew.
Oh, sure.
And
famous for doing that.
I mean,
oh, yeah.
I really have had a very blessed, very varied life.
Oh, that's fascinating. That's
I mean,
fascinating.
It's just,
and it just happened that the Lord led you to do all this missionary work, saying, yeah, open a medical clinic, smuggle Bibles, whatever He told you to do, you did.
I think I like adventure.
Yeah, clearly.
You know, I'm just not a boring, person. I've almost never ever worked for anybody else.
Yeah.
Always my own thing. Sometimes starving.
Yes.
Sometimes making it. But I like adventure, and there's plenty of adventure in the mission field.
I'll bet.
And
now you've had an excellent education. You're an attorney, and you went to maybe the best law school in the country, Harvard Law.
Yes.
Tell us how that happened. How did you end up at Harvard Law?
Well, after Berkeley, it was the Vietnam War was going on.
I remember.
And I had a choice.
Yeah.
Do you want to go to the swamps of Vietnam? I said, I don't think that's for
if
me.
I can avoid it, it would be good.
And for some reason, they were lawyers could get
An exemption.
An exemption.
Yeah, I remember
from
that.
going. And
lawyers and teachers and medical school, I think. There were various things you could do.
So I thought, well.
Yeah.
So I took the LSAT exam and did extremely well.
Good for you. My son's an attorney, and he said his mentor said to him, study for this exam like you never want to take it again because you don't.
Right.
So it was hard, I'll bet.
Well, yeah, in those days there was no studying for it. It wasn't like it is today.
Oh, is that right?
I mean, you just went and you took it. But I put on a jacket and a tie, which at Berkeley was something, because that isn't, as casual as Berkeley was. Mm-hmm. But I thought, I'm going to kill this thing.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely going to kill it. And I had a B- average. I wasn't interested in school in Berkeley. I mean, I was into motorcycles and everything. And I thought, I've got to kill this thing. And I put on a jacket and a tie, and I went, and I killed it.
Yeah, that's great. Good for you.
I mean, I just knocked it flat.
Yeah.
And I could have gone to Yale or Michigan, but I just thought Harvard would be the best.
Oh,
I thought it is the best. And I just thank God. And, David Souter, Justice David Souter, who retired. He was not only in my class, Dale. He was in my section.
Is that
right?
He
sat right down front. Of course, he was just another guy. At that point, he wasn't. He didn't look like he was going to be a future justice of the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
But it was a tremendous experience, Dale. And they told us, they said, we're not going to teach you the law. And we thought, what are we doing here?
Yes.
We're not going to teach you. You can find that in the law library. We're going to teach you how to think. And boy, did they ever.
Yeah.
You come out with an analytical mind and realize that most people don't think logically.
They don't. It's really interesting. My son, who's the attorney, went to Northwestern in Evanston, Illinois.
It's a good school.
And studied philosophy. He was a philosophy major. And I remember, of course, kidding him, saying, are you going to open a philosophy store or are you going to make a living? And he said, I'm not sure yet, but law schools like philosophy majors because of the training in thinking and being logical.
Yes.
And also, interestingly, he told me, and he didn't go this route, but he told me many business consulting firms, like the Big Eight and people like that, they want philosophy majors because of the way they think.
Wow.
So I think that's interesting that you say what you say about Harvard. And he also told me he went to St. Louis University Law School, and he said, I didn't learn a lick of law.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said, I got out and he went to work for a firm and they told him to go file something in court. And he goes, I don't know how to do that.
Right.
But it's interesting that you had the same experience.
Yes.
They can be tough on you. Paper chase kind of tough, can't
Well,
they?
it wasn't easy. and I don't know how I got through as doing as well as I did.
Yeah.
Because I still wasn't taking things seriously.
Oh, even there. Yeah.
Well, everybody
yeah.
else, but I mean, I was still exploring.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, that's your personality. That's your personality.
So, but it was great to have that. And then I took a year at Stanford Business School.
Wow.
And but they weren't teaching me what I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Oh, okay.
They wanted to teach me how to be a middle manager.
Oh, yeah.
Count
MBA
boxes
guys.
of soap and that kind of. I thought, no,
Yeah.
I want to go out and start a business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I left after 1 year.
So you've always been basically an entrepreneur your
Yeah.
whole life.
Yeah.
Let's talk about 501c3 Go if you want.
Yeah.
Our friend Betsy Ann Fiore found you on the internet, which is www.501c3go.com, right?
Right.
And we'll put that up on the screen for you.
Yeah.
And she and you got to be good friends.
Yeah.
She was my vice president here at our ministry, and she told me that you really had a good handle, an excellent handle, on how to put a nonprofit together. So tell me how that got started. I understand it really started as ministries only, right?
Yeah. El Shaddai Ministries is how I started this 37 years ago, and it was only because the flying nurse of the Philippines, who was a believer, and she wanted me to do it for her.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
And so I did it, and then I did a couple of other ones, and I hated it because they were so hard to do, and I thought, I don't ever want to do another one again.
Oh, yeah.
And then after a few, I thought, there's got to be a way to make this thing easier for me and for the client. And I put together a way that was easy for our clients. But in the originally, I only accepted Christians as clients.
I see.
I felt it was
Okay.
my ministry.
Yeah.
But others began to ask me, and at first I said, well, no, it's only for Christians. And then we had a Christian rodeo. They said, well, if we say we're Christians, we won't have any rodeo people come. So it's not going to be a Christian 501c3. We're
Right.
Christians. And I thought, well, I can bend it a little bit. Okay,
Sure.
I'm doing this non-Christian
Okay,
nonprofit
okay,
for you
yeah.
because you are a Christian. And then others came along, and I thought, maybe I can. Here's the way I sort of see it, Dale. Anybody who wants to change the world for the better, it might be the back door
Yeah.
of God's work,
Yeah.
but it's God's work.
Sure it is.
And so, I mean, if you're helping feed the homeless, that's God's work,
Sure it
whether you're a
is.
Christian or not.
Sure.
So
sure.
I began to see things a little broader
Yeah.
and not have such a narrow view. That anybody who's and we're the world changers is the way I see it, Dave.
Yeah.
We want to change the world, and we help other people change the world, and that's God's work. But
Sure it
He
is.
wants to change this world.
Well, God can work through anyone.
Yes.
And He's clearly done that.
Yes.
We were talking about that the other day. We had kind of a political show going on and talking about President Trump and saying, he's like Cyrus.
Yes.
The Lord used Cyrus in order
Yes.
to return the Israelites to their homeland.
Yes.
And anybody can do it. So, if Trump can do it, if Cyrus can do it,
Yeah.
you can do it.
Absolutely.
And other people can help as well.
Absolutely.
So what kind of challenges do you run into when you're talking with people who might be really ministry minded and have good hearts and all of that, but they don't know from the IRS, they don't know about
Right.
business? You have to coach them, don't you? It's basically
Well-
part of what you do.
Yeah. I mean, we're the midwife
Yeah.
to get the baby out and healthy. We
Yeah.
get them to 501c3 status.
Right.
And that's a major process if it's done right.
Yes.
It's not an easy procedure to do it the correct way, but that's really what I see as our job. Once they have their 501c3, we do not really help them with the business. Maybe we should.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a way to do that, to
Yeah.
expand our service. But the main thing is getting them their 501c3
Yeah.
status in as easy a way and as quickly as possible.
Well, you had mine done in under a month, which is phenomenal, because you talk to other people and they say, it takes years.
Yeah, right.
Well, if you screw it up, I guess it takes years. But you have a pretty good system,
That's it. I mean-
and you have blanks for people to fill in and
Yes.
that sort of thing, which, if you're, have any basic knowledge of, how to run a business, you can get that done. I mean, that's not a real problem. Have you found, particularly, we won't get too political here, but there was a period when the last administration seemed to be targeting Christian organizations and making it difficult for them. Did you run into that at all during that period of time?
Well, 501c3 has to be non-political.
Right.
So we never did. Those were 501c4s.
Oh,
Tea Party kinds of stuff.
Oh, I see.
And the IRS really blew it, and for some reason they couldn't get rid of the head of the IRS, who should have been gotten rid of.
Right.
And that's another story. But basically, that was a tough situation for Christian groups who were in the political area.
Yeah.
Never affected us. So for
but
churches,
you don't deal with that at all.
no.
Yeah. Okay.
Strictly churches, ministries, missions, and other schools, charities, scientific organizations, anything that's 501c3.
Okay.
We will do for them.
We'll talk. We're going to take a brief break.
Okay.
And then when we come back, I'm going to get into some of the specifics and why it might be a good idea for a church, for example, that might not have a 501c3, why they should.
Yeah.
We'll be back with David Marmon of 501c3 Go after these brief messages.
Potential audience of more than 50 million people is reached every week by Las Vegas Tonight. To keep the important message of Christ's love on the air, we need your prayers and financial blessings. Please send your tax-deductible gift to Dale Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, number 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. For a donation of $25 or more, we'll send you a copy of Dale Davidson's new book, Las Vegas Tonight, From Sin City to Vegas Saints. You'll love these inspiring stories of Las Vegas Christians who are changing the world. Or donate to the ministry, or order Dale's book by going to vegassaints.org. That's vegassaints.org. Or call us today at 702-480-3989. That's 480-3989. God bless you.
Hello, I'm Dale Davidson. I hope you're enjoying Las Vegas Tonight. The guests we've had on the program are wonderful examples of Christians who take seriously Christ's command to love one another. In addition to the hundreds of television stations across the United States now carrying our show, we have been presented with the outstanding opportunity to bring these inspiring stories to people around the world. An international satellite network in the Russian and Ukrainian languages has asked us to provide them with episodes to be broadcast to millions. To make a gift to support this very special effort, please send your check or money order to Dale Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, number 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. To use your credit or debit card, call 702-480-3989. Thank you, and God bless you. Welcome back to Las Vegas Tonight. I'm your host, Dale Davidson. We have a fascinating guest. His name's David Marmon. Boy, he's had a life. He's traveled in over 50 countries. He's done mission work everywhere. He was pals with all kinds of important people in the ministry world. And aside from that, he runs 501c3 Go, which is a company that helps ministries, churches, and other businesses, I guess, put together 501c3 nonprofits. Let's talk a little bit about, define that. What does a 501c3 give you the ability to do if you're in ministry, for example?
Well, the most important thing, Dale, is that you can give tax-deductible receipts for people who give you money.
Right.
I mean, anybody who's going to give anything sizable wants to get a tax deduction for it.
And you can blame them.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can only do that if you're a 501c3.
Right.
And otherwise, and you don't have to pay taxes.
Right.
Because you're either a profit business or a nonprofit business. I usually don't call them businesses, but it's
organization.
Organizations,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So that's the main advantage is you can receive tax deductible donations and not have to pay taxes.
Okay.
I mean, that's a huge thing Congress has given us.
Oh yeah.
A huge advantage.
Yeah. And the IRS watches this carefully, and they're looking to see whether you're legit, right?
Exactly.
Making establishing a lot of ground rules.
Yes.
And you help people negotiate those ground rules
exactly.
in order to become a nonprofit and
Exactly.
accept donations.
Exactly.
It's my understanding that the IRS code doesn't mandate that churches be 501c3s, but you and others, attorneys and CPAs, seem to recommend it, even for small churches. Tell me why that's an advantage.
Yes. Well, the thing is, if you're a church by IRS standards, it's true, you don't have to have 501c3 status. But suppose you say you're a church and the IRS says you're not a church.
Right.
Over the years, Dale, we have had a number of churches that we go to the IRS and we try to get church status for them.
Right.
And they say, no, you're not a church. But we'll give you 501c3 status as a ministry.
Right.
Okay. Now, if they had not had 501c3 status, all those donations could be disallowed by the IRS because they're not a church in the eyes of the IRS.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So they're treading
and they're
on,
final arbiters on that, really.
absolutely.
Yeah,
so it's treading on thin ice.
Okay.
If the IRS is going to agree with you that you don't need 501c3 status.
Right.
And that's why probably upper 90% of churches do have 501c3 status. They don't want their parishioners or congregants to have any problem with the IRS
later, right?
And so somebody says, well, I gave $10,000 to my church, and the IRS says, well, they're not listed. Are they really a church? And if they're audited, I mean, it's conceivable the IRS is always looking for tax money.
Sure.
Now, I'm not saying the IRS would abuse the situation at all,
right, yeah.
but still, most pastors don't want to take that chance.
Oh, I can understand.
For why? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not that big a deal. It's an investment in money and time.
Right.
But once you have church status, you never have to relate to the IRS again.
Yeah, and it's not a lot of money. I don't know whether you want to talk about your pricing. You're welcome to or not. But when I got my 501c3 for Dale Wynn Davidson Ministries, it was very reasonable. I think you were less than local attorneys were. I know that they were looking for, even up to double what you were charging.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've had people say, this lawyer was going to charge me $10,000, $15,000, even $20,000. And I could probably justify, my Harvard buddies are making $1,100 an hour.
Wow.
That comes to $2 million a year.
Yeah.
So, if I were on that
track, and you were wanting to make that.
I could probably charge $20,000 for a 501c3. That's not my desire.
Yeah.
So we're way, way, way less than that, and probably for $2,500 plus $600 to the IRS. That's what we're doing it for.
That's great pricing. Yeah. And they can get details on your website,
Absolutely.
501c3go.com.
That's right, or give me a personal call. They call us and ask for me. I'd be happy to talk to them.
Okay, let me put that number up on the screen too. 800-293-7490. 800-293-7490. I think, you and I during the break were talking about the possibility of you moving your business here, your nonprofit here.
Yes.
Because there's a lot going on in Las Vegas. And one thing you may not know, Las Vegas, depending on how you look at per capita numbers, is number 1, 2, or 3 of the most church communities in the United States.
Really?
Yes. A lot of people don't know that about Vegas.
No, this is supposed to be this sin capital or something.
That's right, Sin City. And what I tell people is the reason we have 800 churches in southern Nevada is we need them more.
Wow.
If you know what I mean.
Wow.
But there are a lot of churches here. There have been a lot of church plants, which is really interesting. Where a church in Alabama or Mississippi or Texas or Illinois or New York or somewhere will say, let's go to Las Vegas. It's Sin City, known as, the capital of sin. Let's plant a church there and see how well it does, and see whether we can, help a dark place, which it is in a lot of ways because of the sin. But it's also a great church community. We have one church, which you can, I'll say the name, Central Christian, which is off the 95. You can see it's a copper-looking round building, 25,000 congregants. Wow. That is a big church.
That is a big church.
The church I go to has 7,500. Wow. There are some large churches here, but there are also some real small ones, which are really interesting, and they could use your help, because often the big churches, they got a lawyer on the board, and or who knows what.
Right.
But there's a lot of smaller churches, and I'm real pleased that there are a lot of street level ministries, many of whom that I put in my book here, Las Vegas Tonight, From Sin City to Vegas Saints, that our friend Betsy Ann Fiore and I wrote together, and where we talk about ministries that started. Maybe the people who came to town had something else in mind.
Oh, wow.
And maybe they weren't Christians, which is often the case, or maybe they had a checkered past. Las Vegas is a town of second chances, and many people, because of these churches, have found Christ. And so we have ministries to the homeless, ministries to young people, ministries to minorities, ministries in recovery. Things like that are very active in Las Vegas. So I think you'll fit in really well. They need help.
Well, the thing is, too, Dale, and you mentioned all these ministries.
Right.
A church of 25,000 is going to have a lot of people going out with the idea of doing ministry.
Yes.
Even if the big church has their 501c3, all these ministries that are sprouting, they need 501c3.
They do, yeah. And they often don't have the protection, for example, feeding the homeless, which is politically a difficult thing because the merchants don't want to see it on their street, because the homeless congregate there. The police aren't interested in that. The city fathers will regulate those kinds of things. And not having a ministry designation, a 501c3, probably hurts them.
Yeah.
If you could say, look, we're an established organization, we have this, we have this golden letter, they call it.
Yeah, right. I call it that.
That you get from the IRS.
Right.
And you hold that up and say, look, we're a street level ministry. We're for real. We have volunteers. We even have employees. And it's a little harder for them to roust you. You know, I would think.
Yeah, no, it's really true. That letter, I call it the golden letter. It's just and sometimes our clients get it and they say, this is just a plain old nothing letter. Yeah, but it means a lot.
It's a page and a half.
Yeah, you've passed the IRS scrutiny. You are legitimate, and you show that to the city, the police, whatever. I mean, you've got something going for you that you didn't have before.
I think you do,
sure.
And I think ministries need to know that in a sense, from the standpoint not only of the IRS but the local authorities, you're a business. You should get a business license. You should get a state, incorporation, which I did with my ministry. You need to do those sorts of things so you have legitimacy.
Exactly.
And people look at you like, okay, well, they seem to be for real.
Right.
And there's a lot of those here.
Yeah.
Because there's such a need.
Yes.
Recovery ministries in particular, many of which I know don't have 501c3s. And they're good ones. There's different chapters of Celebrate Recovery, for example, in churches all over the city, which is a Christian version of AA. And they need that, I would think, wouldn't they? Because they're taking donations from their members.
Yeah.
And from the church is often funding them. I think they're mostly a volunteer organization, but they need some protection too, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and what I have found, Dale, is that once you have that letter, things start opening up for you that would not have opened otherwise.
That's interesting.
It just opens up. Before, you're struggling along as a ministry, you get that letter, and somehow now things just start opening up. I've seen it happen so many times.
Yeah. You wonder, of course, God can do anything, and He does. But you wonder if the Lord has put that on your heart and He is going to smooth the way, it's your responsibility as the CEO or as the head volunteer, whatever you are, to follow the rules and to do it in a way of excellence, which is biblical.
Yes.
But I think He wants you to be legit too.
Oh, absolutely. First class. I think God wants His people to be first class.
Yeah.
Whatever they do, whatever ministry, mission, church, you need to do everything to glorify Him.
Oh yeah, that's a great way of putting it. Let's look forward a little bit. Where do you see 501c3 going in the years to come? You're very active. You're talking about expanding the ministry. You're talking about opening another office here. Where are you located now?
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Albuquerque, right. So another one here. You'd be well represented in the West. What do you want your organization to become? How do you see that?
Well, I think we should become the best 501c3 service that has ever been imagined.
Wow.
Just thinking what is the absolute best it could possibly be.
Right.
With God's help. Just better than anything, not only better than anything out there, but better than anything we have ever been.
Right.
I want to make this, not only world class, but world class. So when people come to us, they get a terrific service now. But I always think that things can be done even better. So we're getting more and more international clients.
I was going to ask you about that. Tell me how that works.
Yeah, okay. So let's say, and one of my doctors, I hardly ever go to the doctor, thank God, but he said, if you go to Las Vegas, you're going to find so many international clients. They come here. Maybe they come for a conference.
Right.
And then they go back to India. They see a need,
right.
And they call me. How do we set this up so we can get American dollars? I mean, this is where the money is.
Right.
It's not in India. You can't raise money in India.
Right.
You got to raise it here in the U.S.
Right.
And send it over to India.
Right.
And so we set them up with a U.S.-based 501c3, and they can raise money all over the place, all over.
That's great.
And send it over to India or Tanzania or the Philippines.
Wow.
Or Argentina, wherever.
Wow.
And I believe this is going to grow also. We're becoming a smaller world.
Yes.
And with the internet.
Global village.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to probably expand our international outreach considerably.
I want to plumb that some more. We need to take a brief break, sell a little soap or whatever we're selling today, and I want to talk about the international aspects of what you're doing, as well as that whole global village concept of ministry. It's really interesting to me. We'll be back with David Marmon of 501c3 Go right after this.
Drawn by the lights, glamour, and opportunities in Sin City, they come from all over the world, searching for their chance to be a pretty woman, a success, or maybe just to have a better life. Be somebody. What happened after they got here is literally changing the world. From the story of Tommy Scott, a former gang enforcer turned Christian evangelist, to the Hookers for Jesus Outreach Ministry, to the heart-wrenching story of Arturo Martinez and his heroic act of forgiving the man who assaulted and murdered his wife and 10-year-old daughter. Las Vegas Tonight presents an extraordinary depiction of Las Vegas as a city of transformation, from Sin City to Vegas Saints. Las Vegas Tonight, from Sin City to Vegas Saints, a collection of true stories of transformation, people whose lives were transformed, and people who are now transforming the world. A potential audience of more than 50 million people is reached every week by Las Vegas Tonight. To keep the important message of Christ's love on the air, we need your prayers and financial blessings. please send your tax-deductible gift to Dale Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, number 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. For a donation of $25 or more, we'll send you a copy of Dale Davidson's new book, Las Vegas Tonight, From Sin City to Vegas Saints. You'll love these inspiring stories of Las Vegas Christians who are changing the world. Or donate to the ministry, or order Dale's book by going to vegassaints.org. That's vegassaints.org. Or call us today at 702-480-3989. That's 480-3989. God bless you.
Welcome back to Las Vegas Tonight. I'm your host, Dale Davidson. Each and every week, as I say, we try to bring you fascinating guests who have an interesting perspective on ministry, and David Marmon certainly does. He is the head guy at 501c3 Go, and 501c3go.com is how you get in touch with him, or give him a call, or we haven't said anything about your email yet, client at 501c3go.com. They can drop you an email.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is great. When we left to take a brief break, we talked about the international aspect of this, and I'm really glad you brought it up because I was going to ask you that next. So if an NGO, that's working in India, is the example you gave, and they're trying to raise money in the U.S., which is where the money is,
yes,
they're going to need a 501c3, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So they come to you and they find you on the internet, or they watch this show and hear about you. And what do you say to them? What knotty problems might they have being from overseas? Do they have problems?
Well, whatever problems they have, Dale, we're in the business of settling those problems so they don't have problems.
Okay, good.
That's really the bottom line here. But as the world gets smaller, and with the internet, it's like we're all around a big table or something.
Sure.
And so now they understand things they didn't know 20 years without the internet.
Right.
And they find that, I could help my local village that needs an orphanage very badly in Nepal.
Right.
How are we going to support it?
Yeah.
Well, start a U.S.-based nonprofit, and develop funds here, whether it's the local Buick dealer or a grant from a grant-making organization, or from wealthy individuals, whatever, and then ship that money over to Nepal. I mean, it's a win-win for the whole world.
Oh, yeah.
The whole world.
It's funny you bring up Nepal because that country watches our show more than almost any other country in that part of the world. Yeah. In addition to the ACTV app, the Asian Culture TV app that carries our program, I also always boost it on Facebook. And the last time we sent a show there, which was just a couple of weeks ago, 50,000 viewings in Nepal. Wow. 50,000 opens where they viewed it. And what's amazing about that is they're hungry for Christianity, obviously, in a Hindu nation. What used to be a Hindu kingdom, but a Hindu nation. We're finding Indonesia, they watch the program, which is really very interesting. And I think also because they're basically in those two nations, for example, also in Egypt, we get a lot of viewers. The government frowns on Christianity.
Yes.
And yet there are ministries, some that are undercover, if you will, that could certainly use your help.
Yeah.
You gave a great example of an orphanage.
Yeah.
I know that one of the channels that carries our program is Keen 17 TV right here in Las Vegas, which is owned by the Christian Television Network out of Florida, and they have an orphanage in Nepal. So it could be an American organization trying to do something there, or an organization there. So either way, they're gonna need to get money, aren't they? Now, what if you are a foundation and you're a grant maker, but you want to accept, you want to also keep it going, so you want to accept donations as well. Do you need a 501c3 for that?
Absolutely.
Oh, do you?
Oh,
okay.
no question about
Yeah.
it. I mean, think of it this way. Every dollar has to be accounted for to the IRS,
Right.
either on the nonprofit side or the profit side.
Correct.
So if I'm out doing homeless work, as an example, and I'm taking money in and I don't have a 501c3, where's that money going to end up? On my 1040?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't
At
think
a
I
high
want that.
rate, depending on your bracket.
So really the 501c3 is that kind of protection as well.
Okay. Now, let's go back to the organizations visiting here in Las Vegas.
Yes.
This is the #1 convention city in the world.
Right.
We get hundreds and hundreds of conventions here. Businesses are often for-profit, but some nonprofits as well come here, associations and professional organizations. The Bar Association has people like that come here for conferences. So if they knew about you, if they found out about you, could you sit down with them here and say, okay, you're in the soap business, but you have good hearts and you want to give back.
Yes.
Here's how you do it.
Yeah.
Can you do something like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it could be whatever they want to do to make the world better, however they want to change the world.
Yeah.
It's not going to be selling soap, but the same people have a heart that say, I see a need out here. I would like to help in some way.
Yeah.
Well, 501c3 is the way to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I was reading about a ministry that started with a for-profit organization. They're actually headquartered here. They're a major internet shoe business, and they have thousands of employees that live here in Las Vegas, and a CEO that seems to want to change the world, and they're giving money and sending missionaries, and it makes, I don't know what their 501c3 status is, but there have to be many like this that don't think about this, and probably their attorneys don't think about it either, right?
Right.
Because they're in the business of trying to minimize their taxes from a for-profit organization.
Yes.
So, do you run into difficulty with large corporations who say we don't want to get into this, or this is too risky for us? Is there any downside at all to doing a 501c3?
I don't think so. I mean, you have to keep them somewhat separate.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a separate entity, a separate organization. It can be the same people. So you've got, let's say, the soap convention, the big soap manufacturing company or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Well, that's fine. The people, though, have hearts. They want to change the world.
Right.
Come over here. We'll set you up with a 501c3.
Okay.
And then you could do that.
And you could have cross-pollination with the board members, for example.
Yeah.
You could do that. That's legal. Well,
Yeah,
that's
you
good.
could. Yeah.
I think there's always an abundance of caution.
Sure.
Their attorneys saying, you ought to stay away from this or that or the other. But if they see that it's this easy, a lot of them are good people. And
I'll talk to their attorneys.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll let them know that this is a great road to go down.
Yeah, that's always important. And lawyers always listen to other lawyers. They don't listen to us.
Yeah.
They respect. It's a rule of some kind, I think. The built-in respect for attorneys have for each other, which is really
it's
interesting.
True. Yeah, it's true.
I think you've done a really wonderful thing with your life, which is really very interesting. Do you see, aside from building the 501c3 Go, are you going to do any more ministry yourself personally?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what God has for me tomorrow. Right now, I'm concentrating on changing the world through 501c3s.
Right.
As far as what's going to happen tomorrow, I really don't know, Dale.
Yeah.
I cannot foresee tomorrow.
Yeah.
As Yogi Berra said, predictions are difficult, especially about the future.
You gotta love him.
So I think that's.
He's had so many great quotes. It's not over till it's over.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or my favorite one attributed to him is, nobody goes to that restaurant anymore. It's too crowded.
Right.
You gotta love a guy like that.
Oh yeah,
really
absolutely.
You really do. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you? Do they need to get their papers together? Do they need to show you that they've registered as a corporation or anything like that?
The best thing, Dale, is to come to us when you have nothing.
Yeah.
Because if you've started doing things, it might not be right.
Yeah.
People will choose directors, and then they read our material, our podcast, talk to me, and they realize, oh my gosh, I asked these people and I should not have asked them to be directors. Now how am I going to tell them they are not the best directors for me? So it's better, don't do anything until you come to us, and we'll help you get this, start the ball rolling. That's really the best way. That's always my advice. Don't do anything. We'll get you started.
And I think the fact that you're personally a Christian gentleman, you have an impressive Christian background, you are a believer. I think there are people who are in ministry and they're a little afraid, to deal with attorneys, to deal with the IRS. They don't know what they're allowed to do and not to do. And I think it's good to know, that you got a fellow believer who can help, negotiate those shoals.
Exactly right.
Because there's a lot of that, isn't there?
There is. I mean, everywhere you look. I mean, we've been here in Vegas, and you not only have the hotel cost, but then there's a resort fee. Well, why didn't you just put that in with everything's got some extra thing. So people are getting a little distrustful of everything out there, and so they need to come. I don't do things like that because I'm a believer. I have to, respond to God. He's my overseer. But they don't, that's why it's an advantage for them, for believers, to come to us because we're believers. And if you're not a believer, I think it's also a good reason to come to us because we're honest. We're not playing any games.
And you have an opportunity. They say that our mission field, no matter what business we're in, is our business.
Yes.
And you have the opportunity, because you're now accepting non-Christian organizations, you have an opportunity to witness if it comes up.
Absolutely.
If they're saying, why do you do what you do and why is the price so good, or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have an opportunity to talk about Christ a little bit, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's nice. That's a nice thing to be able to do.
Yeah.
Because, you're living what you want your clients to do.
That's right.
That's
right.
They have a pretty good idea of what you're all about.
Exactly.
We only have a couple of minutes left. I want to give you the opportunity to talk directly into the camera and tell people how to contact you and get their fears out of the way.
Yeah.
So why don't you go ahead and do that?
Well, whoever's watching, whether you're in Nepal or Poughkeepsie or Las Vegas, we're here to serve you. I want to give you a personal invitation to let you know that I personally will guarantee you a good experience. I personally will guarantee that you'll be well taken care of by 501c3 Go. And I want to invite you to call me, talk to our team. If you want to talk to me, I'll talk to you, whatever. I just want you to feel very good about, as I tell Dale, as I tell people, we are not only a very professional service, but we're a very personal service. And that's what you want, really. You want personal attention to go through something as important as this, and it is an investment. So you want to know that everything's going to really work out right. And so I want to give you that personal invitation, and write us at client@501c3go.com. Call us at 800-293-7490. Go onto our website. We have a voluminous website with all kinds of stuff on it at 501c3go.com. Spend some time there, and then let us help you. We'll help you change the world. We're the world changers, and if you're a world changer, we're for you.
Oh, thank you, David. You summarized that all very well. And even though he's a Harvard lawyer, you can tell he's a good guy. Thank you for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me,
Come on anytime,
Dale.
especially if you move here. Mm-hmm. We can talk. If nothing else, I can tell you where the buffets are that have maybe a better price, and how to get in and out of the back doors of hotels so you don't have to wait in line to park and things. If nothing else, I do know that stuff.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating town. I think you're going to like it here.
I think so, Dale. I really do.
You know, it's a really interesting thing. William and I, my director, William Young, and I have done this show for 10 years, and I said, we get an opportunity to meet some really interesting people, and you're one of them. So we really appreciate your coming on and changing the world and being a really good guy.
Thank you, Dale.
You're
so
welcome.
Much. God bless you.
So thank you all for watching Las Vegas Tonight again this week. As I say at the end of every program, when it comes to Jesus, please walk with him. God bless. We'll see you next time.
Potential audience of more than 50 million people is reached every week by Las Vegas Tonight. To keep the important message of Christ's love on the air, we need your prayers and financial blessings. Please send your tax-deductible gift to Dale Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, number 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. For a donation of $25 or more, we'll send you a copy of Dale Davidson's new book, Las Vegas Tonight, From Sin City to Vegas Saints. You'll love these inspiring stories of Las Vegas Christians who are changing the world. Or donate to the ministry, or order Dale's book by going to vegassaints.org. That's vegassaints.org. Or call us today at 702-480-3989. That's 480-3989. God bless you.
Hello, I'm Dale Davidson. I hope you're enjoying Las Vegas Tonight. The guests we've had on the program are wonderful examples of Christians who take seriously Christ's command to love one another. In addition to the hundreds of television stations across the United States now carrying our show, we have been presented with the outstanding opportunity to bring these inspiring stories to people around the world. An international satellite network in the Russian and Ukrainian languages has asked us to provide them with episodes to be broadcast to millions. To make a gift to support this very special effort, please send your check or money order to Dale Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, number 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. To use your credit or debit card, call 702-480-3989. Thank you, and God bless you. Hello, I'm Dale Davidson. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Las Vegas Tonight. Allow me to take just a few moments to let you know how you can learn more about some of the fascinating guests that I've interviewed. My new book, Las Vegas Tonight, From Sin City to Vegas Saints, is now available around the world. In it, I profile amazing people who make Las Vegas something much more than just a place to party. These compelling stories often tell of people who came to Las Vegas for reasons much different than the innovative ministries they ended up leading right here in Sin City. Take, for example, Tommy Scott, known as Hitman to his fellow members of an infamous gang in South Central Los Angeles. Tommy was serving time in a Las Vegas jail and contemplating suicide when a couple of pastors visited him in the lockup and led him to Christ. Tommy immediately began studying the Word and has become an on-fire evangelist and Christian author. Then there's Annie Meadows. Annie began life in a rural part of Kentucky, increasingly was fascinated with the occult, and eventually became a full-fledged witch. Rejecting anything having to do with God, she angrily vowed never to attend church or have anything at all to do with religion. Then, like Tommy, she had an encounter with the living Christ and now travels the world as a gospel singer and writes Christian children's books. Pastor Chris Chappell was an avowed atheist who also wanted nothing to do with the Lord. He was a successful businessman who felt he surely didn't need Jesus. His wife and father-in-law convinced him to attend church, and he felt a stirring that made him investigate the Bible's claims. Telling the Lord that he needed answers to his objections, he found those answers in a supernatural way and is now leading a remarkable church, Casa de Luz, in what's called the Naked City, which is a neighborhood just off the famous Las Vegas Strip. This formerly crime-ridden area is now experiencing a remarkable turnaround, and his church is serving that community in amazing ways. Doc Jones traveled to Las Vegas from New York on a personal mission to make as much money as he could. A born entrepreneur, he started a photography business that specialized in taking pictures of groups of partiers at the hot nightclubs on the Strip. He then learned that by referring young guys to the city strip clubs, he could pick up lots of cash from the club's owners. That evolved into sending young women who were wannabe strippers to these so-called gentlemen's clubs, and then he managed their careers. Eventually, he felt so empty and despondent that he too thought seriously of suicide. Hearing a sermon about the prodigal son caused him to dedicate his life to Christ. Now an exceptional musician and composer of gospel rap, hip-hop, and spoken word genres, he is helping change Las Vegas from a place where sin abounds to a city where grace abounds more. Pastor Clegg Seth was an aspiring actor and screenwriter in Hollywood and a strong Christian who wanted to make a real difference for Christ in the entertainment world. But the Lord called him to establish a crisis hotline for runaway teens who were coming to Hollywood to pursue their silver screen dreams. He then started halfway houses for men and women with substance abuse and other problems. He also helped set up a similar men's home in Las Vegas. At one point, he developed a gambling habit, but the Lord delivered him from that problem, and he now devotes his life to sharing Christ with men in prison, serving seniors in a church setting, along with visits to nursing homes and hospitals. He has continued his quest to influence Hollywood through a ministry called the Christian Studio. I personally really look up to Clegg Seth as a model of how a Christian should live and serve others. He truly is one of the Vegas saints. Read these stories and more in this 226-page book, Las Vegas Tonight, From Sin City to Vegas Saints. You can get your copy in several different ways. Go to my website, vegassaints.org, or order it on Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. It's just $15.99 plus shipping. For more information or to make a donation to Dale Wynn Davidson Ministries that will help us keep this program on the air, please call 702-480-3989. Or you can write to us at Dale Wynn Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara, Suite 255, Las Vegas, Nevada 89117. And thank you so much for watching Las Vegas Tonight.
You've been watching Las Vegas Tonight with Dale Davidson. Send your tax-deductible gifts to Dale Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, number 255, Las Vegas, Nevada,